Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's In Search of Tomorrow watch party for the film Spacecamp. I, as always, am Andrew, and I'm joined today by the fantastic Craig from 80s Nostalgia. Hi there, Craig. How are we today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to watching one of my favourite films.
That's fantastic. So, Craig, can you tell us a little bit about 80s Nostalgia? I mean, I think the name speaks for itself. What is it you get up to over there? I mean, you're on socials. Where can we find you?
Yeah, the website 80nostalgia.com is 22 years old. It means it's one of the oldest 80s websites in the world. It's been on there since 1999, which is just bonkers. We run Twitter account, 50-odd thousand followers, got Facebook pages, Facebook group. Every social we're on there as at 80s Nostalgia. Apart from YouTube, someone stole that one. So I'm on there as 80s Nostalgia official, I think.
That's awesome. That's absolutely brilliant. So, Spacecamp, definitely in your wheelhouse, definitely an 80s film. And I think with you covering 80s stuff, 80s films, of course, are a massive part of your sort of content, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the majority of my DVD collection is 80s. Sadly, I no longer have a VHS player, so I don't have a collection of VHS anymore. But yeah, things like Spacecamp, anything futuristic-y, anything with robots, I'm straight in there.
Oh, there we go. That's fantastic. Well, everybody, just to say, our start point will be the black screen, not the crystal screen, which is approximately 20 seconds in, where it says ABC Motion Pictures Presents. So we'll just start in just a moment while everyone gets queued up. So, Craig, can you tell us, do you think can you remember maybe the first time you saw this film?
I thought I saw it at the cinema, which would have been Bolton, but having thought back, it probably got it from the video shop, because I had a video shop at the end of my road and it was 50p for a film for one night. And I would have got this many, many times, maybe 4 or 5 times over a month, because I was fascinated mainly with the robot, mainly with the going to space. You don't get to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's such an 80s film. I've got such fond memories of it. And it's, like I say, it's probably the film that I rented the most during 87, I think 87, 88-ish when it became cheap.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. We'll discuss a bit more of that as we get going now. So what we're going to do is, if everyone gets ready, and on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. There we go. You can just see some wonderful sort of visuals of space and, So, I mean, I think we're probably of sort of a similar disposition growing up in the UK in the 80s ourselves. Did you find as well the Americanness of this film was something that you wanted as a kid?
Yeah. I mean, in the UK, it was quite a quite reserved attitude compared to the fun you get on American films and the fun you have in, like, American TV shows and that. Yeah, it's just a very different atmosphere in all American films to the UK things.
I definitely think so. I mean, I think for me, it would be very much, again, growing up in the 80s, it was the American school, the camps, the shops, even like Disney and all that kind of stuff, where we get like the little windows on bank holidays with Disney Time, which were really cleverly marketed adverts for American stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even have camps.
No.
We watched things on TV and they'd have like summer camps, and it's like you actually choose to go and learn more during summer. I'm out in a field, I'm throwing rocks.
Yeah.
And these people on American TV are all learning more stuff. It's just the American way of life is fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very 80s thing as well. I think it's personified well to us. And I mean, I think as well, it's probably the 80s way of sort of childhood life is very popular now. I mean, look at the success of Stranger Things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see that 80s things and nostalgia itself is coming back quite strong.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's why we've got our wonderful documentaries. This is going to be part of our In Search of Tomorrow, which is 80s sci-fi.
Yep.
And here we go. We can see this opening always feels very sort of Steven Spielberg to me.
Yeah, it is quite grand, isn't it? You're looking up at the sky, waiting for an alien or something.
Exactly, and it's got that kind of very something we spoke about with one of our other guests a few weeks ago. Is what we refer to as the Amblin look, which is that kind of look that Steven Spielberg films, even if he's producing them, have this very kind of soft, kind of beautiful look to them.
Yes, very much. Yeah, yeah.
This opening really does.
I mean, it's like an American sort of cliche, isn't it? It's a small child looking up to the sky with complete hope.
Yes,
I never did that in Bolton.
No,
I was young.
No, exactly. But there's the shuttle building. Sorry, the vehicle assembly building at Kennedy, which I've seen, and it's surprisingly big when you see it in person. Kate Capshaw and Tom Skerritt.
I was always convinced that he was an actual spaceman because he's got that look. He's got the mustache. He's got like the stance, almost like he's been in space before in a different film, isn't it?
Well, he's got a very similar look to the one he had in Top Gun, which was, of course, was released in the same year, 1986, where he played Viper, one of the trainers at the academy.
Was he an alien as well?
No, he wasn't an alien. No, Tom Skerritt wasn't.
He looks very similar.
But he was an alien, not aliens. Sorry.
Oh right, okay.
Oh, and Tate Donovan. Here we are. See, driving up in his. Again, that's such an 80s thing. He's got his little Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chat is saying this is just for the top one. So the chat room, can you tell us about your 80s dreams of sci-fi and camps and things? Where would you have, what camps did you go to? What camps did you want to go to? I mean, for us, if being British, we didn't really have much anything like camps. I mean, you maybe had PGL sometime, which was basically just getting wet in a field with some sticks. But that was like a week you'd go on.
Right.
But
I'm not sure we even had that around me.
Oh, we had PGL Parents Get Lost. It was like a school type holiday thing you could do. Only for a week. You go away for like 5 days to, like I say, to a dirty field or something. Wasn't very good. But we never had camps like this, and I would have killed to have gone to like Spacecamp. I think as well, being the age I was when this came out, I would have been about 9 when I saw this, so maybe 10. And that look of, going, having a month or whatever away from your family, learning to be a spaceman would have just been so awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we didn't have camps as such during holidays, but on the final year at high school, we had a choice of doing an activity for 2 weeks, and technology camp was one of the things that we could choose to do. So I did go on that, and it was like a camping 10 days. Not camping as such. You spent a couple of nights in a field, but majority was in housing. But you had a day. Every day you had 2 or 3 hours on a computer, which weren't even PCs, because this is like mid to late 80s.
So we're in micros of the era then.
Yeah, we had BBCs. We had an Archimedes, was it? Yeah. And then we had a different activity every day. So there's shooting one day, did abseiling one day. It was a strange camp, but nothing as focused as a space camp.
No. I mean, I would have killed to have gone to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like I say, the questions for the chat are, Carla said, my older cousins got bullied at summer camp, so my parents didn't let me go, but I was in the Girl Scouts and went on a camping trip. Icy Matty, I was a scout. I was a cub. I didn't go into scouts.
I was a cub, actually, yeah, for about 2 years. Didn't really enjoy that.
No, I didn't particularly. I remember going to the one time I went camping with cubs, all that happened, I remember there was the leader shouting at us, telling us not to, we all wanted to throw wood on the fire. He kept telling us, don't do that, it's got leaves on it, they're green, it'll like smoke, no burning anything.
The only reason I joined the Cubs, was because my friend Simon came to school on St. George's Day in his Cubs uniform. And I had no idea why he was dressed in green and everyone else was dressed in, other clothes. So I wanted to join the club that he was in. So I joined Cubs and was there for 2 years. And it wasn't the best choice I ever made.
Sparky John remembers going to the Cubs and the tents all leaked, which is surreal. Oh, and here we are. We see another 80s legend, Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Oh, and he was also in the first Karate Kid movie.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's a fact. Fact from Carla, our superstar. Oh, I see Matthew been to Cape. Yeah, I mean, I've been to Cape Canaveral. Was it Cape Kennedy? I went to the one in Orlando, in Florida. Yeah, Kennedy. I went to. Been to the visitors center, been all around the bus tour and seen everything, seen the shuttles up close. It's really interesting, well worth going to.
Yeah, I bet the scale of it.
It is. What I found surprising is how small a space shuttle actually is.
Oh, really?
Well, yes and no. It's the living quarters in the space shuttle are incredibly small. It's about the size of a caravan, like a small caravan, basically. The living areas and the rest of it's sort of the storage area for the tools or the satellites, or whatever. Behind it, it's surprisingly. It really is surprisingly how small the living quarters on a shuttle are.
Because in the film, I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say this. There's a bit in the film later on where it shows them in the captaining the shuttle.
Yeah,
and that in itself was quite cramped as well. And I always thought things like the Millennium Falcon were bigger than they actually are. But when you see them, it's just a seat and it's like a stick, and you can touch the people next to you. It seems a lot smaller in real life.
It really is. It really is how small it all is. Well, we've got Sharon said, one of our community members, my dad worked at McDonnell Douglas on the first Apollo moon project. He told me once his team actually worked on the prototype design of the shuttle. That's fantastic.
That is amazing. Cool.
That is really cool. But yeah, the shuttle it's fascinating to see in person.
I would love to have gone there. We went to Florida in 1992 with my family, and we just did the theme parks for 2 weeks.
Right.
And went to a bizarre shop called Snake World that just sold things made out of snakes. But I would much prefer to go to NASA.
Yeah, NASA was excellent, and I know the community will probably groan when I say this again, but I've been lucky enough. You said about the Millennium Falcon. I have actually flown the Millennium Falcon at Disney World and been in the I've seen the life-size one as well, which is just it's phenomenal, because the area of the park where you go to, where you see it, you have to go around a corner and you just see the Millennium Falcon in front of you.
Yeah.
And basically it's full of 40-year-old plus men crying in front of the Falcon when you see it face to face.
I would love to go there. Love it. Apparently it's everywhere that you see is in theme. It's all the surroundings are all perfect.
It is. You are literally on another planet.
Yeah.
There we go. And we're seeing the kids now seeing the simulator for the first time.
They used to have a ride similar to that in Blackpool in Coral Island, where you'd go in there and you do like a 3D kind of ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on that far too many times as well.
Apparently, this is actually one of the real simulators they used filming some of these sequences, so it is accurate.
All right.
But you can see even with the kids, there isn't a great deal of room there.
No.
Oh, that's very interesting, David. So, David, one of our community members, said that this film actually never came out in Belgium at the time, and it wasn't even available on VHS because apparently because of the Challenger disaster. It was so fresh they didn't market the film there at the time.
Wow.
So it only came out much later on DVD. And yes, Lizard Man, that is Leaf Phoenix is a young Joaquin Phoenix. Now we're meeting Jinx.
No, Jinx is the robot to me. I would love to have a Jinx.
I appreciate, now this is a scene I do find a little strange, that this is obviously their displays in like a museum type area at the Space Center, but why is a man working on the underside of that rover or whatever it is, as if it's a mechanic? Because surely you wouldn't do mechanical work, A, on the display floor, and B, it wouldn't have really had anything break because you wouldn't be using it.
Oh, so picky, so picky.
I know, I do get picky sometimes, you know.
And this is quite an American thing as well, to have about
the dorms and the bunks.
Yeah, the dorms.
Yeah.
This never has anything like this in the UK.
No, definitely not. And I don't know if in the modern world this would be even acceptable. I'm not sure. It's just maybe, but there seems to be like a common set of like decorating steps next to the bed, I think, to get on the top bunk.
Yeah.
But then again, thinking about it, when I've seen dormitories with bunk beds like that, I've seen that they don't really tend to often have a ladder up to the top one. Again, that's maybe an American thing. We don't have a lot of bunk beds like that here.
No, I think people in America are used to that kind of bed. Was British people we need help with with things like getting up to higher places.
Yeah. Now there's a photo behind Catherine there, and I don't know who that is. Can someone please tell me which member of which future astronaut or past astronaut that is in the background behind? I'm sure that'll be a promotional photo. Let's see if one of our community can do the detective work. They're really good like this when watching films. I can ask them a question and they'll go off and get the facts for me. And of course, we've got some real 80s icon legends here. We've got Lee Thompson from, I mean, this would be after her turning Back to the Future.
Yeah. Do you think this was filmed before Back to the Future?
No, it wasn't filmed before Back to the Future. I don't believe Back to the Future came out in 1985. So this would have been, Back to the Future was filmed in late 84, I believe. So no, this would have been after Back to the Future.
Right. Just looking at Joaquin earlier on, and he looks quite young. If he's meant to be,
he was only 12. He was only 12, about 12 or 13 when he made this.
Yeah.
Oh, the astronaut is Sally Ride. Thank you, everyone.
Oh. You have some good detectives here.
Oh, they are brilliant. They're a brilliant community. Sally Ride was an American astronaut, obviously. But, I suppose he would have been obsessed with Star Wars still, quite possibly, because it would have been in its home media releases around this time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You were just saying there, Craig. You were about to say something. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, sorry, no. Just waiting for Jinx to come out.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been me, I think. I would have stole the robot. I would have put it in a cupboard.
Him. Yeah. Oh, wow. So, guys, in the chat, what's your favorite 80s movie robot ever? Not just limited to Jinx. It can be anyone you like, but I'm going to say you can't say R2-D2 or C-3PO because they were first introduced in the 70s, so we'll call them 70s robots. Okay, Robin, our CEO, is saying Johnny 5 was his favorite. Okay, we've got an Ed 209, another for Johnny 5.
Are we including late 70s robots other than C-3PO and R2-D2?
If you're going to refer to the black hole, we'll say the black hole's allowed because it only really technically came out in 1980 for most people.
Fantastic. Yep, Vincent for me then.
Okay, Sparky John also says Vincent from the black hole. Calbot says, I like the robots in the Ice Pirates. Now we're seeing a well-established kind of 80s trope of a genius kid taking the robot apart and fixing it, but I like to think that he's that's possibly why he's also so distant from everyone else, because he's operating on a different level to them.
Yeah.
Carla, are you singing Dabage in our chat? She's singing Who's Johnny? Oh, and I see Matty in with Astro Boy 1980. Wow.
Oh.
Oh, that's wonderful, Sparky John. Sally Ride passed away in 2012, but Lego immortalized her in a dedicated set. So that's quite nice.
Yeah. I did mention to one of my friends who were watching Spacecamp a weekend, and he told me that Leaf Phoenix, the reason why Leaf Phoenix chose to go by the name Leaf rather than Joaquin. I don't know how true this is because Mike is well known for his facts not always being spot on, but it's because all his other relatives, like River and Summer, brother and sister, all had natural nature kind of names, and Joaquin isn't really a nature name, so he changed to Leaf temporarily for his early roles. Don't know how true that is. Because it's a Mike fact. It could be plucked it out of anywhere.
Oh, here's a question for you specifically, Craig, from Mr. Fursel, one of our chat. What's your favourite element of 80s nostalgia?
I'm a huge fan of electronic toys. So, electronic and mechanical toys. So things like Demon Driver, which is one batteries in that you can drive a car on a little handheld. Things like Cue Ball, which is known as Bank Shot in America, which is like a little pool game, little handheld pool game.
Yep.
Kevin Keegan's Football had that as a little 2-player handheld. Yeah, I've got loads of stuff upstairs that I could just play endlessly. Things like Munchman, anything electronic, or mechanical. Pocketeers, anything handheld. I'd love that. Love it.
I wonder if you can remember. There's a toy. I mean, question for everyone in the chat: what was your sort of favorite 80s non-computer toy? You know, sort of little handheld game or something along those lines. I had something, and I don't remember the name of it, but maybe you can help me. It was a water game. It was like a water board game where it had like a barrel at the top and you pulled a little plug out of, and then water did like kind of a down a maze, and it would turn and flip ball bearings going places. And you had little buckets, and it was basically whoever got the most water into their bucket.
That sounds fascinating.
It is, and I can't remember the name of it, and I wish I could. It was a great thing I had.
I will look out for that.
Yeah. There we go. The kids are learning now. I always wanted to do this. Apparently at the Space Centre in, where's the British National Space Centre is near the Midlands, isn't it? I believe. There is one. I'll have to check where it is in the UK, but there is, and they have this, but without the joystick on it, as basically like a thing to disorient you.
Right.
With the rings, and I always wanted to go on it, but I don't know. I probably would hate it now. We can see Kevin in the background couldn't care less.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded going on when I was younger. Nowadays,
yes.
I would be petrified.
Exactly. And Max is doing the 80s kid thing there. That used to happen all the time when you went to an arcade as a kid in the 80s. You'd have some small child come up to you while you're playing a game and muscle his way up to the machine, start telling you how to play it. And you're like, go away, go away.
Yeah. I had a similar thing happen in Coral Island at Blackpool years ago.
And of course, this is establishing, without too much of a spoiler, this is establishing a scene for later in the movie about perfecting stopping a ship in kind of a sort of a rotational spin out of control.
Look at that. She's been spinning around for 30 seconds.
Yep.
Gets up, completely stood up straight. If that was me, I'd be all over the place.
I'd be taking the day off work. I'd be Oh, Carl's just said, does anyone remember the vintage Coleco head-to-head electronic baseball handheld game?
Ooh.
That's very American.
Yeah, that is. I would have got that. I'd like to play it, though.
I don't know if you guys in America had Tomitronics. They were big here with the 3D sort of visor ones you held up.
Yeah, I've got Thundering Turbos upstairs, the white one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, amazing game. Never had the red one and was the blue one as well.
There was the blue one and the red one. I think the red one was space.
Yeah.
The blue one was sharks, I think, from memory.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, shooting sharks.
Right.
My friend had the red one, which I
Right.
really liked. Oh dear. Sparky John, one of our community members, said, I've been on one of those gyros, and to say I threw up at the end was an understatement. Oh dear. That's not... Yeah, I don't know if I'd fancy that then.
No. It's bad enough going on the Afterburner arcade.
Oh, definitely, the old Afterburner arcade machine.
Yeah.
Let alone the very rare now, the 360 machine.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they're looking at getting one of those at the arcade club.
That'd be very good. So for those of us who don't know, in the UK, we have a chain, it's almost a chain now of national retro arcades called Arcade Club, where they've got a selection of old 1980s and early 90s arcade machines that have been restored, and you can go and play on them as a full arcade. There are a few in America now, but yeah, so it's very cool.
Why is he allowed to keep Jinx in there? But did they know he's in there?
I think Jinx just follows him around.
Right.
I can tell you something from having been to NASA where the launch pads are, etc., that yeah, kids would not be, even then, you wouldn't be allowed to just freely drive around the complex. There are security checkpoints everywhere. But what's quite interesting is the main shuttle pad at Kennedy, where, well, the bulk of the shuttles launched, is now the one used by SpaceX. They've got various launch complexes, and SpaceX bought or leased the one that was used for the shuttles. So all modern rockets go from there.
Very cool.
That's a very good point, Calbot. How's he going to sneak anywhere with the radio blaring like that? And I suppose headlights on the Jeep as well. No, Carla, I'm not brave. I'm stupid. Saying people being brave going on one of those gyroscope things like I wanted to go on.
Yeah, there was a period in my life when I would have been daft as well. I'd just been straight on there. But...
Yeah. I see she's wearing a little fighter plane earrings.
Mm-hmm.
She's obsessed with flying. And again, this is such an American thing about this to me, is just he's driving around in that Jeep and it's completely open. You know, it's just,
yeah, we'd never do this.
I can't imagine a car like that.
No.
Yeah, Sparky John says he's been to Kennedy as well. The security would be on you straight away. Oh, they absolutely would as soon as you went anywhere near any of it. Mr. Phil saying, is it that black at night because is it that dark because of the satellites, or these are purely black background? I would say, Mr. Phil, if you look how far away the launch pads are at Kennedy, it will be probably very similar to that, because the launch pads are a considerable distance away from anything in case there is an accident. So quite possibly it will just be that black because there isn't light pollution, because there isn't anything nearby. Sparky John confirming, yes, it is that dark. You can see in the evening launch. Yes, it did. Icy Matty Apollo 11 lifted off from there as well. Didn't take them very long to find them.
That's some bright lights for a car, isn't it?
I suppose relatively it might be if they're on high beam and it's night and there's little to no light pollution anywhere else.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember right, that bit there, I've been in there, and that is near in the Kennedy complex. There's a theatre near there. There's like a big cinema near the exhibits in that part.
Another thing I think is fantastic about this film is how 80s the acting is.
Oh, it is. Everything's just so 80s. It's I do love it. It's it is
Turn to camera.
It is. It really is. Even the way the shots are. I mean, of course, we've got Kate Capshaw here, who's married to the quintessential 80s director.
Yeah. Been married for like 30 years or so, didn't she know?
Yeah, it lasted really well. And of course, she was in another legendary 80s film, not quite as screamy in this one, where she was playing, where she was in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
It's Andy. Oh, Carla, that's fair and unfair, but that is nightmare fuel. Jinx's voice reminds her of Vicky from Small Wonder.
Okay.
Oh, that's a distressing sitcom to watch now.
Whenever I see anything or over I hear anything that Frank Welker has voiced, I always think it just sounds like Megatron. Imagine if Megatron is actually the voice of the majority of people and robots and things in the 80s. It's bonkers.
What I don't quite get is immediately he comes in and is like, oh my God, where's Kevin? And they have to go and find Kevin. But Max seems to be able to run around all he likes at night. All right, he doesn't leave the complex. But it does seem like the others, like the adults, don't seem to bother about Max going into the launch complex. Like all the buildings and everything seem to be open to him at night just to wander around wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, it's a bit one-sided, isn't it?
Lizard Man. Oh, that's not fair. Kevin, why don't you just tell him that Santa Claus isn't real? His parents never loved him and his dog committed suicide to get away from him. That's harsh, Lizard Man.
That is harsh.
What makes a good point there. And this is why he grew up to be the Joker. Yes, in some weird connected universe, that trauma there inspired him to become the Joker when he became an adult. Oh, here we go. Now this is a legit 90 period accurate computer room.
Yeah.
With equipment. I remember rooms like this, and I remember working in modern server rooms that had the legacy of being like these rooms, where the flooring with the tiles and everything was still the same.
I love shots like this where things on a wall light up. They light up in the same sequence. If you watch them long enough, it's the same sequence of lights.
Yeah.
I love the way that they represent technology.
What I do find really quite interesting is they've put what appears to be either a serial or a parallel 25-pin port on the edge of the desk. That conveniently, there you go, Jinx can plug into.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I don't understand what function those ports would have there, because we didn't have USB at the time.
No. They must be expecting Jinx to do something for them.
Maybe Jinx is allowed to go in there. Maybe that's how Jinx downloads his work for the day or something.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll say that. I think Rudy needs a coat. It's getting a little frosty in there.
If we had Spacecamp in the UK, this next scene is exactly how me and my friends would have done it.
Yeah, where it would have just gone horrendously wrong.
We lost control within seconds. Yeah.
I mean, this is one thing I'm not sure about. Maybe they did it at Spacecamp, but are the kids really supposed to start taking stuff apart and start hot wiring the circuits and things together? Right? It's an interesting choice. Carla, this crew is a hot mess. Sparky John, we are all going to die. Lizard Man, and this is probably why you shouldn't let the teenagers man the space shuttle and why you shouldn't make them pilot giant robots.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing Catherine here is actually as bad as Kevin in some ways, but they're opposite ends of the spectrum in the characters. Kevin doesn't care, and Catherine cares too much. Rather than delegating the authority, she's trying to micromanage everything, stepping beyond the realms of her authority.
Yeah, I think we'd have seen her as a bit of a busybody.
Yeah.
Trying to fix everything and not actually completing something.
Yeah.
And I do like this bit when she comes in and points out the fact that they're all dead.
Yeah.
It's a very hard lesson to give teenagers.
But also, the interesting thing is here where she points out that the one who is ultimately the worst of the bunch is the leader for not stepping up to the mark and providing the guidance.
Mm.
But this is actually a really interesting, the way she's portraying this. This is a really interesting kind of lesson that she's trying to teach them. And I understand where this comes from something an industry I worked in briefly. She's not taking anything joking about it, no messing, it's deadly serious. Because I suppose anything to do with space travel, you can't screw up doing it because people die. There is real consequences. Yeah. And I've seen this element of taking it serious, no joking, even on the little things. When I worked for a while with the nuclear industry in the UK, and they have a very much they call it a no harm attitude throughout all the industry, whereby every little incident, no matter how small, is investigated and worked out if there could be a problem and it could be resolved, and everything must always be done by the book and everyone has to own up to their responsibilities. So I can kind of understand it having a parallel.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
I do find it quite interesting though that the kids who seem to screw up the most do get to be the ones who get to go and sit in the the shuttle when it says some of you might get to sit in it.
Yeah. I like to think it's the hope that they're giving them, this is what you could achieve. This is,
yeah,
you've not earned this, but if you were to be good at it, this is what you could achieve.
Mm.
I like the fact that although Jinx hasn't got a mouth, you can still tell what he's the gasp, but the fact his head goes up slightly.
Quite a good design that they've managed to make sort of a face that doesn't have eyes, proper eyes, and that can move around, and a proper mouth. It is enough to make him be able to emote things.
Yeah. Very much like the Iron Giant facially.
Yes, very much so. There we go. And look, so we're going to the shuttle near the shuttle launch pad, and there's a security booth they have to go past. But yep, the NASA didn't think that the back roadway would have would not be guarded. Do we ever think that NASA would ever allow a bunch of kids onto a shuttle while on the launch pad for an engine test to be a health and safety nightmare? No. And as well as someone did point out to me, that NASA wouldn't do an engine test of the shuttle's engines while it's on the launch pad, because not while it's fitted with the solid boosters. The reason being they are solid fuel boosters. So as soon as they become ignited, and it would be a bit of a risk that potentially the main engine would ignite the solid fuel booster, you can't stop the solid fuel booster. As we see is happening to them here as to why they have to launch. Once the chemical reactions happened, you can't stop it.
Right.
But as someone say, so ends the film. So we have to give them a little bit of Hollywood. Unfortunately, it's the elephant in the room, and we'll address it now before we go too far. Well, it's a little bit quieter in the film at the moment. Unfortunately, this does have some stark realities of the tragedy that happened very close to when this film came out, being the Challenger disaster, where it was a problem with it was a problem with a seal, an O-ring seal, in one of the boosters, and it caused it to explode. And tragically, as everyone knows, exactly, Sparky John saying, what was supposed to be a light-hearted action-adventure movie turned into a marketing nightmare. Spacecamp was scheduled to be released in early 1986, but on the 28th of January, the real-life Shuttle Challenger exploded 74 seconds into liftoff, claiming the lives of 7 American astronauts. After the Challenger disaster, the movie was pushed back months. When it was finally sent to theatres, it grossed less than 10 million. Like the Challenger accident, the malfunction in the film involved a solid rocket fuel booster. And unfortunately, just one of those things. But then again, I guess if NASA were involved in it, they would have said that is one of the potential things that could have had a problem. So it's sad. But then again, I think the thing to think about is this film should still inspire people, even in the event of tragedy like Challenger. It's got a bit cheery now. What we're seeing there is it's quite interesting. They keep cutting back to the vehicle assembly building, as the vehicle assembly building is actually nowhere near where the launch control for shuttles is. It's literally a big warehouse workshop that they assemble things in and bring them out of. It's not it's not got a launch center actually in that facility.
Oh.
But let's get back to the fantasy. I mean, this is very cool if you're a kid and you get to sit in the shuttle.
Yeah.
And Terry Quinn, who's there, one of my criminally underused actor. I really enjoy Terry Quinn. He's brilliant in one of my favorite films, which sadly we can't cover at the moment, as it's 90s sci-fi, which is The Rocketeer, where he plays Howard Hughes. There we go.
That fascinates me. The fact the flames change.
Yeah.
The amount of power that's been generated there.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. And when you're at Kennedy, you actually see they have one of the middle is the fuel tank, for the middle orange thing is the fuel tank for the engines on the shuttle itself.
Right.
But the two of the boosters that are needed to get it to go up into space. And they actually have the boosters and a fuel tank in situ, stood together like that outside Kennedy, outside the visitor center, and it's enormous. You don't appreciate how much fuel and whatever is needed to get someone into space.
Yeah. And the rate it must burn at as well. It's insane. It's quite tense. Quite tense.
It is really. It's quite a dark turn the film's taking, and what I would say as well is it's from a financial point of view alone, how many hundreds of millions of dollars is pushing that button probably just cost them.
It does seem like they've cut to other footage.
Yeah,
other than the film.
They did. Apparently, they had to cut from various sets of footage taken from shuttle launches, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Wow. You can actually see in that amazing shot there how fast the shuttle is traveling. It's starting to build up a pressure wave around the front of the cockpit of the shuttle. It's just incredible. So let's ask the question of the chat. Would you like to have been in the crew going into space of these kids? Would you actually have taken the opportunity to go if you could have? Don't know if I... Oh, Lizardman, yes, I would have loved it. Mr. Fursel, I would, though it would be hell. I don't know. I think... Send me up. Icy Matty wants to go. What about you, Craig? Would you have wanted to go?
At the time, being 12, 13 at the time, yeah, I would. Not only because I wouldn't have understood the enormity of what I was doing.
Naivety would have played into it.
No, I'm 47. No, I'm all right, thanks.
Yes, exactly. Sparky John saying only if they had more oxygen and a radio. Karen's saying yes, she'd like to have gone. At least with their instructor, this would be so much worse. Otherwise, that's right. Carla, I'm going to... Right, this is a question for you, Craig, and for our chat. They're saying, would you take the opportunity to go now with Richard Branson or Jeff Bezos? What I would say is I don't think they're real astronauts. No. I don't think they're not real astronauts. They're not real. I know there's been some controversy around that with them. I don't think you're an astronaut really, unless you've properly gone into space, like
Yeah.
they do here. I don't think they went high enough myself.
No, I think going to the edge of space isn't the same as going into space.
No, exactly.
I think you're visiting rather than, you know, going in and exploring and spending time there rather than just like a, you know, a round trip. It's not got the same appeal for me.
No. This is space travel.
Yeah.
This is proper space travel. There are a lot of very urgent phone calls and meetings going on somewhere in NASA in the film at the moment.
And the thing that I love about all these shots in space is that everything is weightless apart from their hair.
Yes.
The hair knows where gravity is.
I don't know. Let's say it's the 80s. They all had a lot of hairspray on.
Yeah.
Sparky John, that dates this film smoking at mission control. That's true. Definitely tell an 80s film where everyone's smoking everywhere.
Yeah.
That's true. I see Matthew's saying they don't have the right space gear on. No, they don't. They don't have. That's the whole point. Now, that is something that wouldn't actually happen for Max unless he pushed himself off, because they established that earlier in the film. If you're in space and you're sat in a chair and you took your harness off, you wouldn't go anywhere unless you pushed energy into yourself to move.
Yeah.
You would just remain there. It's not the fizzy lifting room from Willy Wonka. Network Nerd, I believe they did use certain scenes were shot in the Vomit Comet, which is the where they had where they use simulating zero gravity. The film earned the name Spacecamp amongst its young stars. Simulating gravity was a challenge. Zero gravity was a challenge for the crew, and the start of the filming was delayed by 10 days and ended up taking 6 months instead of 3 months to shoot the movie. But that's what's amazing. That's what I would love to do, to actually go into space, to see the Earth from that
definitely.
perspective.
Absolutely.
There is actually, I don't know if maybe you went on it or not. There is a scene that is similar to this in an attraction at Disney World. Have you been on Spaceship Earth when you went, the big golf ball in Epcot?
Yes, yeah.
And at the end of the ride, you get to the top and it reveals you're in space and you see everything from a space point of view, and it's quite emotional. I found it.
Yeah, I would have been 18 last time I went to Disney, and we did go in the big ball. I am going back 30 odd years with my memories on this, so I might not be very accurate. But yeah, it was. I remember a space bit at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming she means she's just going to look around at stuff inside the shuttle, not actually try and take it on a joyride. by checking it out. I do think that it's quite good that they didn't use a cliche in this, that there's no one who wanders up and says, the president's on the phone or something, you know, because I think this happening, it would probably go to the higher echelons of government.
Yeah, yeah.
Sharon, we established the hair problem. It's the 80s. Everyone had so much hairspray in their hair. They could have been hit in the head by an asteroid and the hair wouldn't have moved. The oxygen and the radio were to be installed on Tuesday. Calbot, is that a reference to Star Trek Generations there? Is that when they were getting their tractor beam fitted as well? Go. And they're floating. Well, they're not actually floating upside down. That's the important thing to know, because in space, there is no up or down.
I do like the technology as well. When you see all these switches and lights and that, and yet all the displays like green screens, and it's like so 60s and 70s in the tech.
It is. But then again, you got to remember the shuttle, while it was an incredibly complicated machine, like I say, while it was an incredibly complicated machine, it also, I suppose, had to be very reliable and proven and functional. Yeah. And also, if you're imagining you're being jolted around, and again, this is maybe a first world problem, my car has a lot of touch screen stuff in it. So if I want to change certain things or do certain things in the car, I have to press a touch screen button. And I find even with the jolting of a car, it's very difficult to push the touch screen accurately.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess, you know, having proper, precise switches. If you look at some of the switches on there as well, they've even got guards between the switches, so you can't flick the switch next to the switch.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I see. I don't have a Tesla, unfortunately. No. And this, Sparky Jones saying, this film also has the first ever reference to an international space station being built in orbit.
Hmm. A lot of stressed faces in that building.
Oh, there would be. Absolutely would be. You've got to remember, though, as well, a lot of those people maybe aren't, yes, they are, they're not even maybe doing their proper jobs yet, because maybe the people who handle all the exact launch processes aren't even in yet, because they weren't in a proper launch sort of process. See reference to him potentially being a bit of a genius if he's got 180 IQ as a kid. And this is actually a very accurate space toilet.
I don't get the feet thing. I don't understand.
What, the feet hanging down? Or
yeah, it's so weird.
No, if you look, he's just pushed his Oh, he hasn't there. Oh, he's too short. Look, there's stirrup things to put your feet in, but he's a kid. He's too short.
Yeah.
I would have a fear of using that toilet on the shuttle. I'm sure it'd be safe. However, I've seen enough going on the the urban legend about people sat on the toilet on an aeroplane that you don't flush it when you sat down.
Yeah. That doesn't sound healthy.
Having your backside stuck to the plane. No, my luck, I'd be like the urban legend, and the whole flight had to land somewhere. Our engineers had to get my backside out the toilet or something to be stuck around the U-bend. Oh, Carla, I know that one. I'm going to answer Carla's trivia now. I don't know whether or not I should. The answer to that is he appeared in Superboy, the short-lived Soulkind production, and he played a boy who had a dream of being Superboy himself to deal with his school bullies. So asking a question, which TV show did Leaf Phoenix appear on as a kid, and what was his special cameo role?
Look at that. She's doing all the Morse code, and there's no one sat at that one desk.
That's
just typical.
But that's the deputy launch director's desk. So. No network nerd. He was taking some annual leave. He had to take some holiday from work, which is why he wasn't there.
Oh, typical.
Someone's saying the deputy launch director was due to be hired on Tuesday as well. His day off. This is the thing I always found really quite remarkable about astronaut training, where they practice in their spacesuits in swimming pools on Earth. It's like quite a remarkable thing. Obviously, they have to be waterproof if they're atmospherically sealed.
Yeah.
Someone's saying, does anyone here know Morse code, or someone who does? I only know SOS, unfortunately, myself. Have you ever played with Morse code at all, Craig?
Yeah, I had a electronics kit, a 60-in-1 electronics kit from Tandy.
Okay.
When I was young, and it had a little switch with the Morse code code on it, so you could make it beep, and you could make it flash, or I don't think you could broadcast, but you could just make the light appear in certain configurations. So I did learn Morse code for a few weeks. I think I know how to swear in Morse code.
That's the first thing you do as a kid, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Learn profanity. I had one of the Johnny Ball Thomas Salter electronics kits.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that had a little thing you can make Morse code with.
I love the kits that had little springs in where you just bend them and connect to wire.
That's exactly what I'd like. And it had little variable resistors and
yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. This is a very cool shot, though. The kind of opening up to space. It's this film does have some lovely effects in it, especially for its age. And this is a shot you'll see in quite a few of our marketing trailers for In Search of Tomorrow for all the community watching. It's just so cool. Very much opening up to a bigger world.
I would find that terrifying, I think.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's no gravity, you're not attached to anything.
No.
But if your boosters fail, you've got no way of steering back anywhere. That is nightmare fuel for me.
Lizard Man's saying, if you look very carefully, you can see Sandra Bullock flying by. And if you look very carefully, you can see Superman from Superman 4 doing that one same shot of flying through space that's littered throughout the film.
Yeah.
Again, though, this was the dream in the 80s, wasn't it, of space stations and...
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I've got oxygen up there.
Wonder why they attached it so far into the structure.
I don't know. Maybe to protect it from being hit by space debris or something. I don't know. Does seem strange though why they would attach it so far in. Calbot says they put it so far in so no one could steal it.